Well, it's Omaha Day again. The Vols just went down to Arkansas, and thankfully this year that doesn't mean that the season is over. This is your weekly reminder that being a Vols fan is a terminal diagnosis that we all share. My name is Mac Williams, and I'm joined by my pal Jeff Wright, and we are the Volatile Podcast. Jeff, how's it going tonight, man?
I guess I should thank my lucky stars I'm not down with the jungle rot or whatever is taking all of our friends out. Hey,
Seriously.
I didn't see the Arkansas game. Did you run out of bounds with no timeouts or time on the clock again?
No, Nico is not on the baseball team, thankfully, so
Oh,
everyone stayed in bounds.
oh, well, okay. I guess that's a
Yeah,
positive.
yeah, but I mean, Arkansas put us out of postseason play last year, put us out of the SC tournament this year. I mean, never won a national championship, and Tennessee just won one, so that feels good. But yeah, it feels like Arkansas has gotten the better of you the last couple seasons, and I don't like that.
Well, you can get ready for Tony Vitello to be their head coach. That's what the Arkansas baseball community is talking about nowadays. Thanks again, Danny White. I think I got that in a minute and 12 seconds in.
Setting
Appreciate
a
you, Big Dan.
record while Nick's not here, you had to get it in even earlier.
Yeah.
Uh, Dude, that would be unbelievable because Arkansas fans have been the main ones that were just railing on Tony Vitello for the past, 5 seasons. I mean, they hate him. They were hating him. So it just goes to show you how fake they are.
Yep, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, in latest news, obviously the baseball game just ended a few minutes ago. It's fresh on the brain. So that's the most latest news is that the Vols hand Arkansas their first SEC tournament victory since 2023.
Awesome.
And that game ends in an 8-4 final. We'll talk about baseball here in a little bit. But first, we're going to jump into other latest news, and this may be kind of the biggest news in Tennessee athletics right now is that Trey Wallace was quoted as saying earlier this week that it is Faizon's job. That's not a direct quote, but that's the summary. He basically said Faizon's going to be the guy. Jeff, what do you think about that?
I just wonder how they've come to these conclusions when nobody's doing anything. Uh,
Yeah,
I think it's
I
entirely
mean, we've said
possible.
it earlier. Like, if the competition is close, which everyone's making it sound like it is, then that means that Faison's had to make up a lot of ground on George McIntyre because of the advantage that he had. And so already, I think you're seeing like if Trey Wallace is saying that, it's like, I mean, I don't necessarily love Trey Wallace and all the stuff he does. I mean, I think he's okay, but um, I think it's pretty reasonable to think that Faison's going to be your starting quarterback, assuming that the competition's close, and it sounds like it is.
Oh yeah, I totally agree that it's reasonable. I totally agree that the competition is close. But like I saw a report where somebody said the coaches were really surprised at how George McIntyre hadn't improved, and now we're getting this. It's totally Faison's job. Meanwhile, nobody's on the football field, and I just I don't know, man. It seems to me like the content generation churn more than this is actually something that they found out that's been decided in Josh
Yeah,
Heupel's office. I
yeah,
totally think Faison could be our starting quarterback. I just don't think Trey Wallace. I just think that it's, I'd say made up. I'm sure somebody told him something, but it's just off-season churn is what I would
yeah.
assume.
Well, and I do think what you said kind of made me think, and this is interesting. At some point, the narrative is going to shift from, let's just say Faison ends up being your starting quarterback this fall. At some point, the narrative is going to shift from George, you know, didn't make a lot of improvements and didn't look that good, and so Faison kind of eked out the job because I think that's realistically what's
Hmm.
happening.
Hmm.
But at some point, the narrative's going to shift, and it's going to be like, oh no, Faison came in and he just took the job and he proved he was the best and whatever. And this is how they're going to rope you into thinking like, oh wow, maybe Faison's going to be really good this year. So we need to be on guard, all you volatile podcasters out there, because we don't want to get ourselves too excited because we got to remember Faison's a freshman. He's young. Frankly, like he's super athletic, has a lot of talent, but even in high school, like he did a lot of stuff where it's like Joe Milton type stuff, and you're like, I don't want to see that from a senior in high school, who's about to be on campus next year. He just doesn't look like a very mature quarterback when it comes to decision making, things like that. And it feels like we're going to be dealing with a lot of, young mistakes from a freshman quarterback if he is our starting quarterback.
Absolutely. And he didn't even play a lot his senior year because of injuries. There's
Hmm.
no coach at any level of football who wants to be starting a first year quarterback in the system. I mean, if you have Cam Newton descend from the clouds, a coach could talk themselves into that with good reason. But nobody sits down on paper and says, what I'm really hoping for is a first year player. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, if that becomes sort of I don't know, some kind of narrative, it's going to be pretty disgusting. Like, okay, he won the job. They're going to roll with the best option they have. They think they can coach him up. It would be just nice to maybe for once to not blow sunshine up our noses. You know?
Yeah, seriously. Um, Yeah. I mean, that's what's going to be. I mean, you just know it. It's going to become the narrative of just, oh, he looks so good. Oh, he's so great. And then we're going to get in the season of you wanting to pull our hair out. So
Yeah,
just be
yeah.
ready for that. Don't let yourself get fooled. The other football news is that the Vol secured three-star, and it sounds like he's like Jeff. You kind of mentioned him. He's playing quarterback right now, but it sounds like they're recruiting him as like an athlete. And specifically, I saw a lot of defensive back talk. So three-star defensive back Slim Lavelle from Good Pasture. So mid-state guy, Tennessee guy. Excited about that?
I mean, middling. He's 6'2", 175 pounds. He's a 3-star. And so I don't know, man. How excited can you get? They apparently did recruit him as an athlete, although defensive secondary, corner safety is probably what he's looking at playing. I mean, I like the
Hmm.
build, but
Yeah.
it's the eighth commit in the class. They're rounding it out with 3 stars, and they'll go after the big fish. So yeah, I'm happy they got him. I like it when in-state kids stay here. He looks like an
Hmm.
athlete. I don't know if this is some kind of game breaker.
Yeah. No, I hear you. Um, I don't know. I think that obviously the more defensive backs you have, the better. With as many defensive back issues as Tennessee has shown to have over the years, I'm curious if this is like a guy that Jim Knowles identified as like, oh, we really want this guy, because I feel like if Jim Knowles is someone who's like pushing for somebody to play on his defense, that gives me some sort of peace about that. I don't know if he is or not. Is the person that pushed for him, but I wonder how big of a hand that he has in recruiting defensive players. What do you think?
Well, I know that that's apparently critical to his defense, and so he's got
Hmm.
to have some kind of voice on that. I did
Right.
read that the Vols were in early on this guy. Florida came calling, Clemson, and then NC State. So, like, if you look at the offer list, I guess that's fine.
Hmm.
Clemson hasn't been what they once were for a while. Florida's down. NC State's NC State. But surely Knowles is making the final decision on which athletes top scholarship slots. So yeah, that's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of a that's fine recruitment.
Yeah.
Um, you need players like this on your team. Maybe a couple of years from now, he's really impressive. I won't be surprised if he gets a recruiting bump. I'm expecting the quarterback they sign in this class to get a pretty good rating bump at some point. Yeah, so it's good. This is uh, not to say brick by brick, but this is just kind of basic
Piece
roster construction.
piece by piece.
It's piece by piece, and this is a piece we need. So more power to them. I mean, I don't know, man. I wish I had a hot take on it, but it's fine. It's
No,
fine.
I think there. I don't know if there is a hot take. I think one thing that you said is a hot take, though. Are you suggesting that when Tennessee receives a commitment from a player that they get a recruiting bump?
That's a fair point. I assume that he, based on uh, being recruited to an elite program, will in fact get a bump, and I think the quarterback will too. It just won't be comparable to if he went to Florida State or
Sure.
Notre Dame or whatever.
Sure. They'll give him a bump now, but then when we actually sign him at, next season or next year, with the next signing class, then he's going to get just trashed as far as his rating goes.
I
That's what's
really
going to
do
happen.
wish there was somewhere we could put odds on that because I think we'd make money.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't
It
gamble, and
never
I would bet
fails.
on that because it's not a gamble.
Exactly. Especially at the quarterback position.
Hmm.
As soon as we get a quarterback, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's actually not that good.
We got to nuke a
Um,
star immediately.
exactly. Last bit of latest news in Tennessee Volunteers country here is the basketball team signed what I think is their final roster spot, right? Which is Christian Furman from VCU. He is a 6'10" transfer of forward. Um, Again, from VCU, the second VCU player we got on this team, the first being Terrence Hill Jr. Jeff, you're the one that kind of was, first to know about this in our chat. Are you excited about this guy? You feel like he's going to be a good fit for the team?
I think it's probably a really good gamble for your last roster spot, particularly with the price of big men. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a gamble. What's really fascinating, dude? Um, are we going to have any 7-footers on the roster next year?
Well, Dwayne Brown's not. This
Right?
guy's not. Who's the other big guy that you got from Loyola?
Hmm. I don't think he's a 7-footer either.
He's not 7 foot.
He might be more
Okay.
like a 6'11er.
Yeah.
Let me
Then
look that up while you're talking.
I think those are your only bigs. I think you're rolling into this season with only three bigs, unless I'm forgetting somebody. And if that Loyola guy's not 7 foot, then yeah, I don't think you have one. Um, and I guess from what it sounds like, Christian Furman, they kind of want him to be, a rim protector, defensive guy for the team. It's not really we didn't really recruit him for his offensive prowess. So which is fine. Dwayne Brown's going to be your best all around big, and that's to be expected. Um, and then it sounds like the Loyola guy has some game as well. So you're going to kind of rely on them the most. But it is interesting to think about a Rick Barnes team with only three bigs because, in the last few years, we've had more like four or five. And they've all gotten not significant minutes, but, as guys have played better or played worse, they've really interchanged a lot of minutes between all those guys. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, the Loyola guy. Golly, I can't talk to that. Uh, Miles Rubin, 6'10".
Miles Rubin.
So
Okay.
I mean, you got two 6'10" guys. I don't know, man. It's a new look for Tennessee basketball. I don't. There's no pessimism in it for me.
Hmm.
Just back to a point I made earlier in the offseason that Rick Barnes went big, I think, trying to copy Florida. Now
Yeah.
he's gone completely small. I know 6'10" is not super small, particularly not in college, but you've got three guys, none of them sniffing 7 feet tall. It's a pretty big contrast. And Rick gets to do this stuff if he wants to. It's just going to be
Hmm.
an interesting season to watch it play out.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, and yeah, I'm just thinking about all the names. Like obviously last year Cade Phillips got hurt, which is why you saw an uptick in, like Dwayne Brown's minutes. But like you had Cade Phillips, JP Estrella, Jalen Carey, Felix Akpar. I mean, that's four guys right there that you expected to play pretty significant time. Um, and now this year you don't have as many of those kind of bigger body guys. So it really is going to be a brand new look for Tennessee, and I hope that these guys that are being, kind of put out there as big time offensive players perform that way here. I'm so scared that like we're going to get some of these guys here, then they're not going to be quite the offensive players that they have been or that we expected them to be.
Oh yeah, and we destroyed the opponent's offensive rebounding last year. That was
Hmm.
critical to so much of our success. These
Yep.
guys have some length. None of them are thick. There's enough. You couldn't stack all three of them together and get Jalen Carey. Um, so I don't know, man. It will be wild if we're watching a Tennessee basketball team that's victory is predicated on outscoring the opponent. That will be buck wild.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Absolutely. Well, let's get into the only sport really going right now, which is baseball. So I'm going to start with a little weekend review because it's been a busy one. So in the past week, since the last time we recorded, the Vols have played five baseball games, and they went 3-2 in those 5 games. Tennessee wins the Oklahoma series with wins on Thursday and Friday. They beat South Carolina in the first round of the SEC tournament. So those are your 3 wins. We lost the Saturday game, which was game 3, to Oklahoma. And again, we just got put out by Arkansas tonight in the SEC tournament. So that's your 3-2 record over the last 5 games. Jeff, let's start with the Oklahoma series. So obviously, it was huge, to win 2 games and to further solidify, or Nick was under the impression that because you beat Texas, you didn't need to win one more game at all against Oklahoma or even in the SEC tournament. I kind of felt like you needed to win at least one against Oklahoma, and then ideally one in the SEC tournament. Well, you did that and more. You won 2 against Oklahoma, and you won an SEC tournament game. So obviously that's big. This team has completely solidified a 2 seed in the postseason. They're definitely going to be there. They're going to be playing, on the road somewhere for a regional. Um, Game 1 against Oklahoma, Tennessee won that game 9-7, and game 2 they won that game 9-4. The bats were really great in that game. Tennessee scored 9 runs, or I should say, the bats were great in both those games. Tennessee scored 9 runs in both. 9 runs should be enough to win, and it was. And so both those games went pretty well. Jeff, did you catch either of these games, or were you following along with either of these games?
Yeah, so I caught those 2 games, and I haven't caught anything since then. My predictive
Mm-hmm.
powers are still working. I just haven't been able to record with you to use them for postseason play. Um, it's really fun to watch a baseball team that can hit the ball. It's kind of miserable
Yeah.
when you're sitting around waiting for the pitcher to try to win the game for you. And
Mm-hmm.
I really enjoyed. That's a superficial take, but baseball's just more fun for me when there's a chance you're going to score a run.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, and it's funny. I'm glad you mentioned your predictive powers, because you literally did. I mean, you said we're only going to win Sunday, and they did the exact opposite. So that was huge. The streak is still on, so we'll need to get a good prediction. And actually, we won't actually predict the regional tonight, because we'll get to record one more time before they play in the regional tournament. So, but we'll kind of look ahead at matchups later. Game 3 in that series did not go as well, but really, I wasn't feeling too bad about that, because Tennessee scored 9 runs. They lost 12-9. So the offense is clearly, gotten into a little bit of a rhythm where they're putting up runs. The reason you lost this game, frankly, is because you didn't have Landon Mack. Landon Mack has been out for 2 weekends in a row. Didn't pitch against Texas. Didn't pitch against Oklahoma. Is dealing with this arm soreness. Jeff, what's your opinion? Do you think there's something serious going on here, or is it really just arm soreness and they're trying to be strategic and just save him? What do you think's going on?
Yeah, I'm going to delve into my predictions bag here. I think probably this is a classic, like Josh Heupel ported over move, that the injury is probably more pronounced than they're letting on, but they're just stringing us out so they don't let the opposing team know what they've got to prepare for. So I'm assuming Mac will be on the shelf maybe for the rest of the postseason.
Yeah, well, I hope your predictive power comes into play there, because this team, frankly, I think is doomed if that's true. I mean, and frankly, like, I was talking to Nick a little bit about this. I feel like, I know you're, saying that with the hopes of being wrong, but I really
No,
feel
what are you
like
talking
that.
about? Of course not.
I really feel like that actually might be what's happening. Seriously, like, I just
Me
don't
too.
understand why you. I just don't understand why you wouldn't pitch Landon Mack to if it is arm soreness. He's had like more than a whole week of rest. Why wouldn't you throw him even just for on a pitch count? Hey, you're only going to get
Absolutely.
25, 30 pitches. Just let's see how it looks. Let's see how it feels. To me, if it is arm soreness that's lingering that long, there's something serious going on with your arm. I mean, you shouldn't be, especially with the resources these guys have. With he's constantly doing, stretches, different drills. Like, he's doing all kinds of stuff, icing it every day. He's doing all kinds of stuff to heal his arm. And if he's still not healthy, then there's got to be something serious going on. I just don't know why you'd be out for this long. And so that kind of leads us to the SC tournament. because Landon Mack also hasn't thrown in the SC tournament. Didn't throw against Texas. Didn't throw against Oklahoma. Didn't throw in the SC tournament.
Hey, let
We
me
beat
just
South.
interject right
Yeah,
there. I think that's
please.
the dead giveaway that they're not even giving him sort of like shake the rust off pitches.
Hmm.
Um, the odds are as good at this point that he had his arm amputated as they are that he would come back.
Yeah, no, yeah, that would be wild. You'd watch him be out there like Jim Abbott with one arm now. Like he's gonna learn how to throw left-handed now and
Yep,
just.
turns out I'm a lefty now. He's doing the Roger
Oh
Clemens
my
thing,
gosh,
like punching his hand into a rice bucket, trying to get that arm strength up.
is that what he would do?
Yeah, I've read that was one of his training. There was the training of injecting, and there was the training of punching the rice. I don't know which one was more helpful.
Oh gosh, that's hilarious. I've never heard that before. So you just taught me something about baseball. So
I'm
there you
pretty
go.
sure that's the case. I'll have to look it up offline.
That's wild. That is wild. But yeah, so last night we played South Carolina. Appenziller gets his first start, SEC start. He has started midweek games, but this was the first like meaningful start and first SEC start. And so Tennessee beat South Carolina 11-6 in their first game in Hoover last night. Jeff, you've been begging for that. I know you didn't get to watch the game, but were you excited to hear that he pitched that game? Were you excited to hear how he did?
Um, I'm excited to hear about it for the first time right now because I didn't get the chance to watch or read about the games. Um,
Yeah,
we won.
yeah. Yeah, 11-6. So yeah, I mean, again, obviously the offense, scored a lot of runs. That's great. Yeah, the game went. I would say the outcome was as expected, but how you got there wasn't necessarily expected. So South Carolina came out and put up some runs early, and so Tennessee had to come back in that game.
So have you
Appenzeller
put them
gave
in
up
a
some
hole? Yeah.
a little
Okay.
bit, but he battled. I mean, he left the game with the lead.
Okay.
So the offense
How
had kind of.
how deep did he go?
I think he got pulled. Jeez, now you're
Mac,
testing my
how
knowledge.
how dare you not know everything about a game
How do I?
off the top of your head that I didn't even bother to watch? How dare you?
I I know. I think he got pulled in the six. That's what my memory says, but I can't remember for sure, and I would
Okay.
hate to be wrong for all our listeners.
But
But
a pretty
he
decent
went.
outing.
Yes, he was a decent outing, and I would say, and for him, like how he's looked the last few weeks, it was a good outing
Okay.
because he looked better than he had been looking.
Okay.
So that was good. Again, early in that game, you kind of were like, "Oh, geez, like he looks the same," but he kind of settled in. I'm sure there was a lot, like you're playing the SEC tournament, it's your first SEC start. For us, we're thinking of him as like the guy who's been elite for at least part of the season. And for him, he's still a freshman. This is a big moment, his first kind of SEC start. I'm sure there was some of that playing into it. So yeah, it didn't look amazing early, but definitely settled in and looked better through the middle innings. So yeah, overall, it was a good game. I mean, Tennessee scored runs. Appenzeller looked good. I was surprised, I guess, that I wasn't surprised that they used Appenzeller, that they started Appenzeller. That's kind of something we had talked about happening. I guess more what surprised me was what you did after Appenzeller left the game. So
Do tell.
Elander brings in Braden Krenzel into the game, which was been a basically. I mean, Krenzel's been a guy, as you know, Jeff, that Nick and I have talked about. Like, is someone you should not be using. And so, whenever Braden Krenzel was brought into the game, I was blown away that he was pitching in game one of the SC tournament. It just felt like I don't know. I think I don't want to get too far ahead of myself because I think what happened tonight informs that decision from last night. But at the time, I was like, I have no idea what's happening. Um, and so but he actually, in his defense, he came out his first inning in that he was pitching. He looked pretty good. Now his second inning, he gave up a home run. I think it was a 2-run home run. And so they kind of cut into that lead a little bit. And so you kind of were thinking like, oh, geez, here we go again. But it wasn't the end of the world. And so that turned out okay. And then really, I mean, that's pretty much it from the South Carolina game. South Carolina's not a very good team. Not much to take away. Tennessee should have won that game. The big game was obviously tonight. You really wanted to win tonight.
Yeah.
And I
So
think that's
Mac,
why, yeah.
that sounds as an outsider like Elander thought he had the postseason wrapped up. The SEC
Hmm.
tournament wasn't super crucial, so he ran two
Hmm.
guys out there who needed to kind of get their groove back and gave them a chance to find their mojo again. Is that the read?
I think that's a very reasonable one. Yeah. I think that when you're sitting there in the moment watching it, you're like, I don't know why we're throwing. I guess the answer is that again, South Carolina's not a very good team. So I think you're exactly right. Elander probably was saying, okay, we're not going to use our best arms. We're going to use some guys who needed some work. And we're going to see if we can get by this game. And thankfully, obviously, the offense scored enough runs that it wasn't necessarily a close game. So that worked in your favor. Krenzel got good work, Appenzeller got good work, and you're definitely feeling better about Appenzeller as you head into regional play. I still am not super confident on Krenzel. I don't want to see him in a excuse me, in an important game, but um, I yeah, it's been good for him that he got some work and it wasn't terrible, but um, yeah, I think that's the only way to take it, Jeff, is that he was trying to work these guys, work their kinks out, and let them have a little bit better outing before we get into postseason play. But tonight is where the big question mark for me comes in. So tonight, Tennessee loses to Arkansas 8-4. We started Evan Blanco tonight. That was interesting to me because Blanco threw Friday against Oklahoma, so he was on what 5 days? 5 days between outings. Whereas if you throw Coons tonight, he's on 6 days. That's just one day less than normal. And that's pretty. And like last week, we played Texas on Friday, Oklahoma on Thursday. So Coons was already in that like 6 day kind of rotation. He was kind of used to that in a sense. And that's not been uncommon for him in the season because he's gotten moved around so much with some of his struggles. So I was kind of shocked that you went with Blanco instead of Coons tonight. Um, I didn't really anticipate that at all. And I don't want to say that Blanco was clearly fatigued or it showed that he was on short rest, but tonight Blanco did get tagged early. I mean, Arkansas scored 3 runs in the first inning off 2 home runs. So it was clear that Blanco wasn't pitching his best. And I would have liked to see us start Coons tonight. I feel like Tegan Coons would have given you a better chance to set the tone early and to be competitive in this game. And I understand, like tomorrow, you would have had to play Texas, and but Blanco looked good against Texas 2 weeks ago, and if you don't win tonight, it doesn't even matter, and you didn't. So now it's like, well, were you saving Coons for Texas? Because if so, then you didn't even get there. So that was just a stupid decision.
So how long did they let Blanco go? How long did he pitch?
Uh, he got pulled out in the fifth inning tonight.
Yeah.
Um,
Man,
so
I don't want to make one motif fit everything, but what
mhm.
you've just laid out makes me think that Elander had no interest in the SEC tournament.
Right, right. No, I
It just
agree
kind
because
of
and that's yeah, and that's why I said like what happened last night with him using Appenzeller and Krenzel, and he also threw. Was it Haas maybe threw last night? There was three. Somebody else threw against South Carolina, but tonight when you start Blanco, I think you're exactly right. I think it shows that he clearly wasn't that interested in going chips all in the center of the table, trying to win as many games as he can in the SC tournament. I think he's just happy to play for the region, wherever that ends up being. And that's fine. Like, obviously, if you win your region and you make it to a super, all that's going to look great because, you saved your arms and that's awesome. But if you don't win your regional, I would have rather just tried to make a run in the SC tournament and try to get a better, seeding in the regional. Because that's the thing, right? If Tennessee had beat Arkansas tonight, and let's say they go ahead and beat Texas on Friday, and now you're in the semis. Tennessee probably is going to move up a few seed lines and be playing a lesser opponent in the region than they would have now because I think you could have improved, but you probably weren't going to hurt your chances. And so to me, if I can improve my seating, but I can't hurt my seating, that's the time to go for it.
Yeah, and maybe it's an issue too where if he thinks there is something with Mac long term that he's got to save what he's got left for uh, trying to make a run in the regionals. That's kind
Mhm.
of a. I mean, it looks like it's another version of what you're dealing with in football, where coaches are like, "Why do we have an SEC championship game? My fan base is going to be more impressed by something in the regionals. You know, God help us if we get to the super regionals." Um, Maybe he's conserving resources, knowing what looks glossier on the end of year evaluation. Uh,
Right. All right. No, I think that's really the only optimistic and like if he's thinking through this thing strategically, that's the only way you can view it is that he's really trying to, save what he's got for the regional.
yeah, and
And
so
y-
you throw Coons the first game, and then from there it's just stay in the winners bracket, right? And
exactly.
try to get the
Exactly.
weaker sisters after you jump on somebody. From there on, I don't hate it. I guess it's I really prefer the approach of like if there's somebody in front of us, we're going to try to destroy them. But
Mhm.
if you're at this point dealing with a bullpen that's dinged up and you're trying to maximize what's available to you and you just want to save it for what your fan base will legitimately be most excited about, I can't fault it. We've spent a lot of time, I think, throughout the season trying to figure out if Josh Elander had too much on his plate in terms of the decision making he's selected. This one doesn't seem that bad.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I mean, I think that's a good take, and I mean, yeah, it's all going to be fine if you play well in the regional. It's all going to be fine. But to your point, like you've got, I mean, if we lose, Friday night when Tegan Coons is pitching, this season's basically, I mean, hopeless. I mean, it's going to take a miracle. You're going to have near a complete game from Blanco so you can save bullpen arms. You're going to have a great outing from Landon Mack, who we haven't seen in probably close to a month now. And then you're going to have to win twice on Sunday. So you got Blanco on Saturday to get you back in winning. You're going to have to win twice on Sunday. So that's Mack and then who? It's going to be a bullpen game, and you do not feel good about your chances to win twice on Sunday with a bullpen game.
All
So,
right, you got Krenzel
um,
coming, baby. Why are you scared? Why are you scared?
oh gosh, I mean that would be a Cinderella story to say the least. If Braden Krenzel carried you in a win or go home Sunday game to make it to supers, but I just do not see that in the cards for this team. I really do
What a
not.
negative
I
ball.
can't lie.
What a negative ball fan.
I have been told I'm the most negative Vols fan in our friend group. I've been told that by a few people. So, what can I say? What can I say? Um, Well, Jeff, let's go ahead and preview some regional matchups. It looks like the Vols will for sure be a 2 seed. That's pretty much guaranteed at this point. And the likely places we'll end up are Chapel Hill playing North Carolina. We could end up in Atlanta playing Georgia Tech. You could end up
Don't
in
want that.
Corvallis playing Oregon State, or the most favorable option, and probably also the least likely, is you end up in Hattiesburg playing Southern Mississippi. So obviously, Jeff, between these options, if you had to pick one, where would you like to see Tennessee baseball go? I think the answer is pretty clear.
Yeah, I mean, Hattiesburg sounds great. North Carolina would be tolerable. I don't want anything to do with Georgia Tech,
Hmm.
and I really don't want to deal with the Oregon stuff either. So put me in Mississippi or North Carolina, and we should be happy. That should be fine.
Yeah, yeah. I think obviously Southern Miss is the most favorable matchup for you. You've seen Tennessee teams go into Hattiesburg, win a regional like that. That was what we did in 2023 with, yeah, I think so, with Chase Burns. I think that was 2023. Um, and so, that team was able to go into Southern Miss. They actually, if I remember correct, they did lose Friday night that year, and they had to come out of the losers bracket to make it through. You can't have that again. This team doesn't have the arms that that team had. But I do think being in Southern Miss would be your best, most favorable matchup when it comes to your chance of winning. I really don't feel great about North Carolina or Georgia Tech. I don't know that you can beat either of those teams truly.
I don't
Um,
think you can beat Georgia Tech. North Carolina feels comparable to me, and it's not
yeah,
that far away. So, like, I would take that as plan B, you know?
yeah, I think that's right. I really do. I do think Georgia Tech is objectively the better team, and I think that and Tennessee did play against North Carolina in a region as well. I think that was maybe 2021 or 20 no, I think 2021 we made the it was around COVID. It was either 2019 or 2021. Tennessee went to Chapel Hill for a regional and they lost. And so I mean, you've been there before. Elander's coached in that environment before. I do think that helps. But I do think Corvallis is interesting because I don't think Oregon State is as good of a team as North
Oh,
Carolina or Georgia Tech.
oh, okay, okay.
Um, but that trip, obviously, to your point, is much more challenging for the team. Obviously, you're flying out to Oregon and you're on Pacific time, and I don't know how much of a factor that should play for athletes who are getting paid money to go play that want to be in the MLB. Like this should be something that you're geared up for. But obviously, like Tennessee has a great fan base, you're going to have less Tennessee fans in Oregon than you're going to have in North Carolina, or that you're going to have in Mississippi, or even Atlanta. Even though Georgia Tech is probably the best team on this list. So if you want to try and have you know some Vol Nation people out there representing and trying to even out that crowd as much as possible, you want to stay away from Oregon State as well. But you know, Oregon State is one of those teams that's like their name carries more weight than I think they actually are of quality this season. Oregon State's traditionally a really good baseball program, and
Yeah, I was
they're good.
surprised to hear you say that you thought North Carolina was better.
Hmm.
I was doing the same thing. I was going off reputation.
Yeah, and I think their reputation precedes and the name precedes, but I actually don't think they're as good as North Carolina this year. I'm not scared of the only team I'm scared of would be Georgia Tech. I'm genuinely like I think that's a really tough matchup, and I don't know that we can win. And there's also the fear of Dylan Loy, who was a really key player for us in past seasons. He plays at Georgia Tech now, and so you can just already see the headlines of Dylan Loy coming in and absolutely just shoving against us. And I don't want anything to do with that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm with
uh,
you. I don't want anything to do with Georgia Tech.
yeah, yeah.
And
So
this is
we'll
not my
see.
prediction powers. This is I don't want to. Let's just leave them alone.
Right, right. No, and we'll see. I mean, because it's Tennessee, I'm assuming that we're probably going to end up in Atlanta just because we don't want to. But I would love for it to be Chapel Hill or Hattiesburg. That would be awesome. So. Well, I think we've already kind of touched on, what we kind of expect from this team in the region. Clearly, Friday night is the most important game of that entire tournament, and because Tennessee is going to be the 2 seed, you're going to play the 3 seed in that tournament. So you're not going to play North Carolina or Georgia Tech or wherever you're at. You're not playing that team on Friday. So if you throw Coons in that game, which obviously you should, you are going to, I would assume, beat whoever the lower seeded team is that you're playing. You should win that game. And so then it's a matter of like, how well does Blanco pitch on Saturday against North Carolina or Georgia Tech or whoever they play when they face that 1 seed on Saturday? Given that, Jeff, given that, Friday night should be objectively an easier game and Saturday you're playing that better team, do you have any inkling that you think Josh Elander is going to throw Blanco on Friday night instead of Coons on Friday night?
Only that I guess if I were in his shoes, the only thing that would control is who I think my best pitcher is. I would kind of shoot my shot um, and say if that's my best guy, he's the one who trots out there. And I don't know, maybe he sees that differently than I do. I mean, maybe he thinks Appenzeller rises to the moment because he's the the best talent. I don't know, but I would, what you guys said earlier in the season about you're going to have to just do whatever it takes to win Friday nights in the series.
Hmm.
I think
Hmm.
this is one of those same scenarios. Like you just got to shoot every bullet you got at getting in the winners bracket and being able to stay there. So
Yeah.
if Blanco's the
So
best, and I mean, you would tell me if Blanco's your best pitcher after Landon Mack, then you better get him out there if Mack's not available.
yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so I mean, I think just from general baseball strategy, it would be bad coaching. It would be a bad use of your roster to throw off, to throw your second best guy on Friday. I think what you're saying is exactly what I would do. I'm throwing our ace, which clearly is Tegan Kuhn. So I'm throwing Tegan Kuhn's on Friday night. I'm winning that game for sure. I'm hoping that he goes 9, honestly. Like if he looks good and we're hitting the ball and we've got a lead, I'm leaving him in there and I'm riding him. Because you're not gonna. I mean, if he throws on Friday, if he goes 7 innings, you're not gonna see him the rest of the weekend anyways. So you might as well save all your bullpen arms and let him go the whole game on Friday if he can. And just save everybody for the Saturday game because then you're rolling into Saturday with what's likely going to be Blanco, and then you've still got Arvidsson, you've still got Appenzeller, you've still got Bo Rudy, but I would like to think that in that Saturday game with Arvidsson and Appenzeller, you're not going any deeper than those guys. So I think that's the clear strategic play here for Elander, but I'll be interested to see if he is confident enough in Blanco to maybe mix it up and throw him on Friday and just see if you win that game. Again, I think that's probably dumb, but he's surprised me with how he's managed the arms this year. So if he does that, I guess because I've been surprised, I won't be surprised this time.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Um, well, Jeff, we got some bonus content here tonight because that pretty much wraps up our baseball talk. Um, and the bonus content here is that there was an article written by A to Z Sports this week talking about the 2023 Tennessee football draft class. And so this draft class was obviously headlined by Nico. And you had other guys in this class like Arion Carter, Jeremiah Telander, David Hobbs, Sham Umarov, Ricky Gibson. And they were basically talking about how this class, which is going to be they're the rising seniors this year, that they're kind of underperformed and underwhelmed. And it was interesting because that seems to be a trend not just with Tennessee but across all of college sports. That this particular class isn't maybe as good as people thought. And so one interesting stat from this is that Tennessee has only started 5 out of the 25 players from that recruiting class. Which is, obvious. That's kind of a crazy percentage. 1/5 of the class, 20% of the class is started for Tennessee. When you read that article, Jeff, what did you think?
I think it's eye opening. Everybody has a general perception that recruiting rankings aren't incredibly reliable. They're what we have, so we use them, right? Like you're all playing by the system, and so you just kind of who can gather the most stars. But even as you're going back through that list, Carter is number one in my heart. Like
Mm-hmm.
he seems like a VFL, right? And he's played well. Elander's played pretty
Mm-hmm.
well, but I was sitting there thinking, like, is Ricky Gibson the best player out of that camp? Like who's going to? I know he won't be around to do it, but like, who would you have put on your promo stuff about balls in the NFL if Gibson had hung around? He seems as likely as anybody to be the stud, and I don't know. It's just kind of eye opening how little return on investment that you really got from that entire year.
Yep, Jeff, I think you're frozen on my end. I don't know if you're frozen for our listeners, but yeah, I agree. Oh, are you still there? Yeah, you're cutting in and out a little bit, but I agree that Ricky Gibson probably is your best, player from that list overall. And what's interesting, I'm sure you know this, but Ricky Gibson ended up at Texas A&M. So we will get to see him this year when we travel to College Station to watch them play. And so I'm sure Ricky Gibson's going to be insane in that game. And he's probably going to have some great pick against Faizon, and we're going to be miserable as we stand in the stands in College Station. But I agree with you that Ricky Gibson is kind of the guy from that list, and it just sucks that he's not um, wearing Tennessee orange anymore. Jeff, you're still on. Sorry, listener, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. Jeff doesn't know that he's still on, so um, anyways, we will kind of wrap it up here. So, yeah, listener, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Jeff, are you there?
Okay. Well, Mac,
You
apparently you
you
can
never.
see and hear me, but I can't see and hear you. And so I'm
Yeah.
going to
Okay.
bail out, let you finish the episode, and try not to put anything else on film or audio from this. So sorry, guys. I
Sounds
have
good.
no idea what's going on here. I got a bail.
Yep. Thanks, Jeff. Anyways, so yeah, you can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can find us on Twitter at volatile_1998. We apologize for the technical difficulties tonight, but we will be back in action next Wednesday as we preview the regional, and we'll talk about any other news that comes up between now and then. Just remember, it's terminal.